Hey, hi, it's Aaron. So I'm recording an introduction for the video you're about to watch. I've just recorded it, but this is the introduction. And I want to say it's a super long video. And I didn't expect it to be, but I really wanted to tell my story on the subject. I want to give a light content warning. If you're trans or or gay or anything like that, if you're feeling at all delicate about subjects like why am I trans, does God accept me as a trans person, what about all these conspiracy theories I'm hearing out there, feelings of internalized transphobia, anything like that, or not wanting to feel, not feeling like you're happy with the way things are. If you're at all sensitive to any of that kind of stuff, then maybe skip this video for now and come back to it another time. I'm just honestly telling my story. I just want to say I don't have any definitive answers or anything like that. I'm just telling my story as a trans person who's on the spiritual path and answering a question I received from someone who contacted me about, is it okay, does Jesus accept me? Does Jesus accept me as a trans person? So I'm answering that question, and I'm telling you, it takes me a long time to get to the point because I'm telling my story, and I do waffle a bit, I do lose my thread a little bit. Maybe there's things I didn't mention, and if I didn't mention what you want me to mention, what you want me to talk about, you're welcome to leave a comment below or contact me or message me privately. That's fine. I'm friendly, I'm cool. It might take me a while to respond. I've got a lot going on right now. So if you're okay with that, then please do get in touch. I'm happy to chat. And if there's anything you are feeling I'm missing, then just like it, I probably talk about the main stuff towards the end of the video. I don't know. But it is a long video, so I'm sorry about that, but I want to do the subject justice. I really do. So we're done. Here's the video. Hi, it's Aaron. It's the 8th of October, which to me feels kind of significant. I know it's the 10th month, but it says, like, it's the number 8, isn't it? Oct. So it's kind of like 8-8 or something. I don't know. Yeah, so hi. Hey, it's Aaron. This is my personal vlog about spirituality. So this is just a journal. It's nothing for anyone to take too seriously. It's personal, it's just my opinion or whatever. I'm not here to make claims, like the subject of this is I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it's about being trans, right? So I don't know, like, it's just like, what I want to say is, this is just my truth, right? This is just my truth. Truth evolves. There's no need for anyone that might watch this to take it on as their own truth. All I really want to do is help through sharing, my story. This is my story, right? It's like a journal. All I want to do is help people find their own truth, find their own expression, you know, find their own way to help people to help themselves, you know, like, kind of thing, because that's what people have done for me. You know, no rescuing, you know. I've been the kind of person who needs rescuing a lot, and I've kind of like wanted people to rescue me, and maybe once or twice that's kind of happened, but it's really about, you know, I mean, whatever I say, I'm just like, I'm always thinking of counterpoints to everything I say, even as I say them. So anyway, let's just get going. I don't know. Sorry about my voice today. I am feeling quite bunged up a little bit, so sorry about that if I sniff. I don't have high production values. This is just me and my phone. And a load of caffeine. So I got a message from someone, and I told them I would reply, and here I am doing this on video. And I just want to say to you, if you want to chat, we can chat. That's totally cool with me. But I just want to answer your questions on video, because I think they're like important questions, and if you want to talk about it, we can, totally. So this is from a transgender person, and I'm just gonna say, I'm assuming your pronouns are she, so I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. So she's transgender and she's struggling with connecting with Jesus, or her connection with Jesus, feeling like Jesus would never accept her for who she is. What are my thoughts? Yeah, like, I've been through this totally, and I still do, you know. So I'm just going to tell my story of how my trans experience has interacted with my spiritual experience. So I'm going to talk a bit about spirituality, you know, like the woo-woo stuff as well. And I'm going to start with kind of new agey stuff, I guess. Like, you know, these are experiences I've had, and they were truthful at the time, and some of them are still truthful. The truth does evolve, you know, as we grow, as we're on this kind of spiritual journey. There are layers, you know, like, so it's like peeling an onion. It's like that cliche, and one layer of the onion might be like seemingly in opposition to the next layer, you know, kind of thing. As we peel back the layers, we peel back the layer, we find some truth, and it's great, you know. And then we peel back, and then we go further, and there's something severely challenges that truth, you know. And we keep going and keep going, and it's kind of like none of that truth is really ever undone. But it's all it all becomes okay in its own kind of relative sort of existence, you know. So yeah, so here we go. So I was brought up as a Christian as a child and a teen. I was a Christian, and pretty much as soon as and I did have as a child experiences with Jesus in in like summer camp kind of things, with the church, and like yeah, where I kind of like I made these commitments, as a young teen, as a teen. I don't even really remember the timeline very well. So I made these commitments, and so that happened. And then I also remember having sort of supernatural experiences as a kid that I'd kind of forgotten about until sort of recent years. Maybe that's just something for another day, but like kind of like supernatural experiences, spiritual experiences, whatever you want to call them. And then I kind of like, as I grew up, like the moment I didn't have to go to church, the moment my parents said it's up to you whether you go or not, I just stopped going. And then after that, gradually, I became quite cynical about God, and never really became an atheist or anything, or I wouldn't even say agnostic. I believed in God. I believed God was there, but I just thought he didn't give a shit, about me, Like, I've got a trauma background. I've had quite some severe trauma in my childhood. And I don't need to say what that is, you can guess. And I've had traumatic things happen in my family as a child, as a teen, and like it's been rough, right? It's been rough, and I'm not saying poor me particularly. I mean, I am. I'm just acknowledging the truth. It was rough. Like, I had very loving parents, beautiful parents, good sort of family life, nothing to complain about, but some really hard times, emotionally, I would say, with stuff going on. And then on top of that, I'm neurodiverse, so just a lot of trauma, a lot of hard times relating with the world, as I'm sure most kids go through, but for me, I sort of came out of childhood and into adulthood, I guess, kind of traumatized, and kind of like but it's all like subconscious or in the background, very, very I don't know, it's just very messed up, and I didn't know I was very messed up. I didn't know. I was very scared of the world, but I didn't know I was very scared of the world, like those kind of things. I was very scared of people. I was very scared of relationships. I was very scared of, all sorts of stuff, but I didn't really know I was, and so I got to adulthood, and I'd kind of come to the conclusion that God was there, that there was this kind of spiritual thing, but that God didn't like me, or God hated me, or God didn't care about me, or whatever. And it's very sort of cynical and very you know, what we would call, I guess, like, you know, dualistic thinking, very black and white thinking, and just sort of feeling just generally really lost with life, you know, really, really lost. And anyway, so that was like that for about, I don't know, I was like 10-15 years or something. And in that time, I got married, had kids, you know, got a house and all of that stuff. But my mental health was fucked. I was just so fucked up. And I couldn't really work and stuff like this. And then I began having these kind of supernatural experiences again, right? And I just want to say, you know, like, I was self-medicating as well, right? Plant medicine. So, you know, whether or not you want to blame that, that's fine. I don't care. I don't think that was the cause. I think it was like me needing help, you know? But I began to have like supernatural experiences, I would say, in sort of 10 to 15 years ago, right? And I began seeking, you know, actively seeking. I began engaging this scary spiritual content on the internet. People, you know, doing energy readings, you know, energy updates. People doing, I don't know, like, what do you call it? Psychic readings or whatever. And I was just like watching this on the internet and signed up for a couple of newsletters and was sort of vaguely interested. And by this time, my marriage had fallen apart. I'd come out as trans. All of this stuff had happened. That was just a huge traumatic experience in itself. You know, coming out is massively traumatic. It's really horrendous. Like, you know, we all know how that goes. I mean, I don't know, like, it's okay now, you know, but it was hard. It was so hard. Maybe that's another video, but you know, so I was like on my own. I didn't have I wasn't living with anyone. I was living alone, and I was like, you know, go through this stuff, self-medicating, engaging spiritual content online on YouTube and stuff, and having these experiences. And I kind of like decided that I needed to connect, and I was aware of what people were talking about, this awakening. I became aware of this thing, this concept of awakening, of spiritual awakening, and I was like, I fucking want that, whatever that is. I want that. And I felt it like it was so strong. I felt the truth of it, you know. I felt that this was something I could achieve, you know, like an awakening. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how, but I thought it was for me. I thought it was something that would come for me if only I worked hard enough and I, you know, did all that stuff right. And then around nearly 10 years ago, my sort of, you know, I was having like crazy experiences. So it's 2025 now. I was having crazy experiences, and you could say that I was psychotic. And you could say that I was experiencing hallucinations, and I definitely was self-medicating. And I was all in on the self-medication, and I was also on psych meds. You know, I've been on psych meds for years at this point, like a lot of them, a whole concoction of stuff, right? And so uh, I began channeling, and it kind of started happening through automatic writing, and it was all kind of metaphysical and like, probably if I read it now, it probably make no sense to me now, but back then it was just profound, you know, like you know, people were talking about, you know, all these different ascended masters and uh, archangels and stuff, and I realized that I could, or ETs, you know, ETs as well, and Jesus being one of them, and I realized that I could talk with them, and you know, like, there's a timeline here. Like, it didn't happen. It did happen suddenly in one way. It did happen quite suddenly, but it was gradual. You know, it happened over a year or two that all this started happening, and I was engaging with what I now realise is kind of like a cult, and there's a lot of kind of culty behaviour around the New Age community and self-realisation, what do you call it, non-dual kind of stuff. So there's a lot of culty behaviour, and there's a lot of like ego-based nonsense going on. There's a lot of manipulation and kind of competition, and as I started engaging with these people, I realised that there were some like really horrendous opinions about trans people, really, really strong opinions, and lots of theories about trans people and conspiracy theories and all this like really dark stuff, right? And I'm being careful what I say here. And you know, so here's me. I've been out for a few short years, you know. I came out about 15 years ago. And I came out, and then I'm engaging with spiritual community, this love and light community, right? Where I was expecting sort of to be received with open arms. And some people were like that, yes. But it was kind of like the opposite. It was like stepping into a hell realm. A hell realm called spirituality. And so I was channeling, and I was speaking with, you know, Archangel Michael and whatever else, right? And you know, these higher consciousnesses have never ever said anything bad about trans people, right, to me. Like, but all the people in the community were just saying horrendous things. And I even one time, so I began to seek like alternative therapy, because I'd been in like Western medicine counseling therapy, CBT programs and all of this stuff, and you know, life coaches and you know, all of this stuff through the healthcare systems. And I was looking for something a bit more real, you know, that included spiritual growth, truth. And, you know, one of these people was like sharing a lot of conspiracy theories about trans people. And I just asked her, I just said, hey, I don't really know what you're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? I'm trans. I'm kind of like new to this community. I'm looking for help. And you know, what are you talking about? Like, and she was just like, you know, yeah, I can help people, but I don't really want to help you, you know, because you're trans. And that kind of experience really stands out to me in my journey through this spiritual community. And even my friends who were very open, you know, I'm talking about Facebook online friends, right? Even some of my friends who were like really open and kind and friendly towards me and nice, and they did help me a lot. Some people helped me, you know, there's some beautiful people out there, but they would be friends with me and friendly with me, but they'd also be sharing these conspiracy theories about trans people and talking about abuse and, you know, kids and stuff, you know. So it's all really hard going. And I was channeling, I remember I channeling different groups, you know, different consciousnesses. I'm not talking about channeling physical beings or telepathy with physical beings or physical ETs or anything like that. I'm talking about channeling spiritual beings, spirits, angels, archangels, whatever. And some of those, you know, were or are, you know, like associated, connected with star systems or whatever. And occasionally Jesus would pop up. And to me, at this point, he was just like, it's like I downgraded him in my mind, you know? He wasn't God anymore. He wasn't like the primary, you know, guide of my life, you know, like he was as a when I was a kid. And occasionally he would talk with me, but it was just brief. I didn't really ever seek him out. I didn't I was quite pretty resistant of speaking to him. I did really like speaking to him, but like it was just like something I didn't really want to do. I found out all the Christian stuff very icky, very uncomfortable, and I don't know, I just wasn't into it, you know, at all. And so that went, and I had my awakening. It happened, and I've had more. But the big one, you know, I had the big one, which was an awakening and a breakdown. And life became very hard after that. I thought it was hard before that, but it was extremely hard. And I was having really shitty experiences in my life that lasted a very long time. And spirituality was all I had. It's what kept me going. But at the same time, it was becoming, you know, very unhealthy. some of the people I was interacting with, some of the groups, you know, the online groups, were very culty. And this one particular figure, this teacher, now I'm not saying, I've spoken about him loads of times, I'm not going to name him anymore, but I don't know whether he is a cult leader or not, but there was a cult going on around him, for sure, right? And I believe that's possible for this culty kind of behaviour to just happen, right? It just happens. I don't think it's always because someone has decided they want to create something like that, you know. We know about like these famous ones, famous cults out there. I mean, you can be in a job and your job can be a cult, you know. You can be in a fucking, I don't know, some kind of community group that's not spiritual, that's not anything like that, and it can be a little bit culty. And it's just about people coming around either a central figure or a central idea or concept, and they think they're going to change the world, you know, like political groups, you know, political movements. I don't know what else. Like I'm no expert. Like, it took me a long time to recognize it for what it is, and I still don't really get it, you know. I just try and trust my gut with it, you know. When I see it online, I'm like, I'm running away. I just feel it. Oh God, I've got to get away from this. And it's like really common. If you go in, like, you know, on these YouTube videos where these popular teachers are sharing their stuff, and there's nothing wrong with the teacher at all. They're fine. Might not agree with much of what they say or any of what they say, or they might be good teachers or whatever. But if you look in the comments sections, there's a cult there. There's a cult in the comments section. And you see it everywhere. It's not just spiritual stuff, like it could be anything. A super popular photographer, like I'm into photography, so I watch photography videos. You see it in the comments of them. It's like really crazy. And I'm just talking about, you know, a kind of a behaviour pattern, an energy, and, you know, to varying degrees. I mean, it's probably mostly harmless. It's just people wanting something from an influencer, you know. You know, this is where we're at right now, isn't it? Anyway, so during this time, you know, I'd been down all these rabbit holes, all these conspiracy theories. Like, I was like, I want to know what they are. But like, it's what spiritual people talk about. You know, a lot of them do. And I was like, I need to know what they're talking about. Well, this lady was talking about these conspiracy theories about, you know, these dark energies and manipulation and fucking stuff in the food, or beaming estrogen waves from space to Earth or whatever, you know, like proper wacky stuff, right? And but you know, like I was like, well, here I am, I'm channeling angels and stuff. How can I just sort of like deny that there's darkness, deny that there's manipulation? So I don't know. Like, I don't know if there is manipulation. I don't know. I just don't know. And like, at this point, it's gonna sound like what I'm talking about is like that these ideas are true. And I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I had to face the darkness of the transgender story, because there really isn't any grounded reason that transgender people are here on planet Earth, right? That we evolved that. And there's no reasons given. There's no science. That's what I'm saying. As far as I know there is some stuff out there, but it's like, and I have read some stuff, right? And I don't understand it, and it seems like, to me, that it's really promising, but there really needs to be more research. And for some reason or another, there doesn't seem to be much out there, right? So maybe there isn't much research, or maybe it's kind of like suppressed in some way, right? Or just not very available. Like, is there a gene for it? Like they say there's a gene for being gay. Is there a reason? Is it just natural? Is it just a natural part of evolution? Like all of this stuff. I need to have a quick break. Hang on. Right. Keep going. I just had a quick break. Where was I up to? So what I'm saying is, in a world of science, in a world where science rules, where critical thinking and science and all of this stuff is going on, where science has become the next religion kind of thing, where's the science? Where's the support for trans people in science? When we live in a world where our existence is under scrutiny and is questioned, all the time, and where, if you're on a certain political spectrum, then you're talking about it being a purely social influence. Being trans is because you're following some kind of ideology, or you're following some kind of social movement, or you've been kind of mind controlled, or I don't know, like I don't know, like, all of that kind of stuff. And on the other hand, there's no science to, well, there is some, I think, don't quote me on that. I don't know, like, where's the support for it, right? Just as there's not that much support for, in science for the existence of gay people. There's no kind of consensus. There's no like definitive accepted reality. We haven't come to agreement. And it's about all sorts of things. Like even like autistic people or neurodiverse people. Like it's the same kind of arguments there as well. It's not only trans people. It's just like all these different types of people are just kind of being denied, in so many ways. Even when there's like a clear causality, right? Like a trauma experience or something. People who are traumatized, people who can show who can explain why they are the way they are, because of this, that, or the other that's happened in their lives, even those people are denied. So we're just in this crazy time. We're in this crazy time right now, and it's so unbalanced on so many on so many levels, and in so many different kind of areas of society and life, and so what I'm saying is, the reason I went down these rabbit holes because I felt the horror of it, but I felt a pull, and I felt like I needed to know. I felt like I needed to go down these rabbit holes and see what people were talking about, and try and understand why they were talking about it. And some of these things, it's like, well, I'm channeling, but how can I deny that, and how can I deny this? And it really kind of led me to realize the kind of person I am, which is a kind of, I have an open mind. I am an open-minded person. It's very challenging to be like that, though. It sounds great, but it's really hard. It's really hard to be open-minded. It's very hard. And in the end, it's kind of led me to find the truth of it. All of that led me to find my own truth. And in that process, I have been given by higher guidance, that there is a reason why transgender people are here. A spiritual reason, right? And that, I'm going to have to be so careful what I say. I don't want to offend any trans people out there, because what I'm saying is not offensive to trans people. And I'm not saying I know the truth. I don't know. But what if there is some kind of manipulation going on that's causing trans people some kind of thing, conspiracy theory, right? That so many people are talking about right now, especially on one side of the political spectrum. They are talking about some really horrifying stuff, what if that's true? I'm not saying it is. I don't want it to be true. I'm not saying I want it to be true. I'm just saying that what I was offered was, what if we came here as souls? I'm talking about new agey stuff again now. Reincarnation. What if we came here with the knowledge, with the intention of living a transgender life? What if we came here to do that, right? And at this time on the planet, there's a big story about manipulation. And so we've needed to engage that story. And I'm not saying that the cause and effect thing is true. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what if, and I've been told, for me, this is my truth, right? It's just my truth. There's no one that needs to take any of this on for themselves. Is that I did come here to live a trans life. And that does feel truthful to me. And, you know, there are some it's not purely that I was told it, it's just that I have some kind of, you know, again, kooky stuff, you know, I have some kind of memory of that. I have some kind of internal knowledge of that. There's something inside of me that says that that's true. Um, and it doesn't really make it any easier to be here. I personally don't want to be trans, right? I don't want it. I don't like it. But I don't think we are supposed to like it. You know, there's the whole thing with so many trans people is the whole thing is, you know, it is the feeling of being in the wrong body or having the wrong body, or, you know, those kind of ideas. So that's just part of it, you know. And so I do struggle with that all the time. I really don't like it. I don't like it in this world, you know, like I don't like the social side of it. The social side of it may be even worse than the physical side of it for me. I'm not sure. Like sometimes I'm like, well, I can, you know, it's not so bad, but the people, you know, but the outside world, you know, living in this kind of level of scrutiny and feeling fearful about the future and stuff. So there's that. So I have been told, and I have kind of experience or memory that that's the truth. And then, so I've just been toddling along in my spiritual journey, having my awakening, having more awakenings, having just a really intense time of it, you know, like with my mental health, with a lot of trauma, and sort of disorder. I mean, I basically I have a developmental disorder, right? And, you know, I've been trying to heal it. I just been like, I've been trying to, like, you know, do all this healing stuff, right? And it hasn't stuck. And it's like I've just come to after all this time, I've come to the conclusion that, you know, maybe I'm not going to heal. Maybe I'm just going to get stronger or something. Maybe I'm just going to get wiser. Maybe I'm just going to, you know, develop more coping strategies or whatever, you know. And there was times when I thought I could do that with being trans as well. I tried to heal it. I did. Through self-realization practice, spiritual practice. And I realized now how harmful to myself that really was. Like a kind of conversion therapy or something. I don't know. Like the desperation and the trauma and the just the sheer terror of what I was experiencing just led me on all sorts of crazy ideas. And, you know, I've really been there with all of that stuff. I've really tried to just like force other realities upon myself, you know? Take on other people's realities, truths. But where that's led me has really been to accept the truth of who I am, of what I am, of being trans. So anyway, this is a really super long video, and I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to get to the point. But I really want to tell my story about, you know, I can answer the questions, you know, like, but who is it that's answering the questions? Who's saying it? Who is Aaron to say this? You know, and my answer to that is, you know, I've had my experiences. This is what I've tried. This is where I've been. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. But really, what I want my story to tell you is, really, it's for you to find out, to make it your own truth, that it's your truth, or rather that you find the truth that God is telling you, the truth of God. And it's my firm belief, I've said this before, it's my firm belief that the so-called teaching, Christian teaching, that homosexuality is a sin, is a false teaching. It's not true. I'm not denying that you know, in the teachings, I mean, there are arguments to say that it's a mistranslation anyway, but I'm not a scholar. I don't know. I mean, I've just read people say that it's that teaching, those passages in the Bible that say that homosexuality is a sin, or that have been interpreted that way, could maybe be, or one of these passages could be translated in a different way, and it's more referring to behaviour between adults and children. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know, not a scholar, don't want to know really. I just believe that even if that was said and by some historical, in some story of whatever, you know, maybe that's true. Maybe those people were told, because maybe that's what they needed to hear in that time, in that context, in that place. Maybe something was happening that we don't understand, and that group of people needed to hear that law or whatever, that teaching. But so it's contextual, you know, it's historical. I mean, the Bible is a historical document, if you believe that. It's about the past. You know, these days this time we live in is this time. I mean, you can think of some times, if in 1,000 years someone looked back at the 1980s, they might get the impression that being homosexual was wrong, and I'll leave it there. So I do believe this is I believe that's a false teaching. Or is I up to? I don't know where I'm up to now. I don't I'm saying now. I've lost my train of thought. So, anyway, back to Jesus, right? I mean, we know that there's so much that was considered for the Bible, and so much that was arguably taken out of the Bible. But the Bible is what the Bible is right now. It's what we've got. And, I think the idea that we would just blindly follow the Bible instead of following God is wrong. Like, the Bible isn't God. God is God, right? So, over the years, I've got to know Jesus a little bit through channeling, and he's occasionally popped up. And I remember once or twice he kind of stayed for a few days, kind of thing. And I really felt this kind of like really clean, serene, peaceful energy about him. Really gentle. Just so gentle, right? And then, I went through my thing with the cult thing, and it was really, really tough. And I kind of walked away from spirituality. I kind of got to the point where I was like, well, this guy, like, even if he isn't a cult leader, he's definitely an asshole, right? Definitely. No doubt. So I've spoken to the people around him. Like I knew one of them. I didn't know. Like it was just fucking crazy the way it happened. I realised that I knew someone who was in his inner circle. And speaking with that person blew my mind. It was very upsetting. I realised that they were telling the truth about his misbehaviour. Whether or not that's cult or not, I don't know. But definitely an arsehole, right? Yeah, I mean more than an arsehole. More than that. But I'm not going to go there. I walked away from spirituality and I kind of denied God as well. Again. And I stopped channeling as well. I was like, I'm done. I don't know anything. All of this stuff I've learned is like a lot of it's through him, that teacher. And I'd say, looking back, I'd say he's actually quite a good teacher in some ways. But like God kept knocking on my door, and I gradually started engaging the community again, and it all came sort of flooding back, the truth of spirituality, the truth of God kind of thing, the truth of the divine, the truth of all these teachings, the truth of, I tried to deny it all, but I couldn't. But what also started happening is I started engaging in like information about Jesus, non-biblical. Like I really started getting interested. I was listening to the book by Adyashanti, who's a Zen Buddhist, an American, and he wrote a book about Jesus, and I found that really, really interesting. And then there was a book by oh God, what's her name? Marianne Williamson, is it? She's a Jewish lady, American, and she'd written a book about Jesus as well. I think it's only a couple of years old, this book now. And I would say these two books, and then other stuff as well. I was engaging other material as well. But these two books like really changed my perspective on him a lot. And they were like, whereas the book by the Buddhist was kind of dry in a way. It's kind of quite dry. But I found it really sort of helped me fix my misconceptions about how what Jesus was doing and teaching was really a basis of a lot of the New Age stuff, right? So the New Age stuff is like a big concoction of stuff, but a lot of it is based on Christian teachings, and I could really sort of feel into that, and it really sort of loosened my mind up a little bit, all the kind of denial and stuff. And then the book by Marianne, the Jewish lady, as she was saying, it was like through that book, that was what opened my heart to him. That's what really opened my heart to him. And then in May this year, I had a breakdown, and through that breakdown I had a profound experience of him, like very profound. And this is now where I'm like, this is like where I am at now. I've talked about it in the last couple of months. It was another awakening. I had another awakening, and I had these crazy experiences here in this flat, and it's all really beautiful, and there was lots of stuff going on, but here I'm finally getting to the point, right? One of my things is, like subconsciously, unconsciously, was one of my big things was, well, I am gay and I am trans, and the Bible says, and the church says, I got shamed in my local church a few years ago. I got shamed in front of the congregation by the church. It's no wonder I was just so resistant, right? But it's like all of this baggage I was carrying that was saying I'm not good enough, I'm gay, I'm trans, what would God want with me? What I'm just I'm broken, I'm messed up, I've been compromised or whatever by conspiracy theories, estrogen waves from space have got me, they got me, all of this stuff, who knows, right? Who knows? But Jesus said, he said it so clearly to me one day. He said, you are supposed to be trans. You are. So, that was a big relief to hear it, really. And, there's surely much more to it than that. you know, but do we really need to know all this stuff, you know? As we're on these like seeking, we're on this spiritual journey, we're seeking, we're on a path, and we're seeking God, and we're seeking the truth, and we're seeking reality. What's real? You know, what's real? And what's real doesn't undo like any of these truths that we find along the way. It's just that it becomes more important to follow God than to follow a story. It becomes more important to seek God only and let everything be where it is, you know? It was only through kind of like allowing God to speak to me that he could reassure me about the truth of why I'm trans or whatever. And the truth of why I'm trans is not that important. The truth is that I'm supposed to be trans because I am, right? I am trans, for what it's worth. I mean, I'm Aaron. You know, I'm just Aaron. I'm just another person. That's what matters. It doesn't matter about my identity or, you know, what you can describe me as I'm trans, I'm a photographer, I'm a parent, I'm all of these things. I'm a human. I'm just Aaron. I'm a human. These are like way more important than me worrying, you know, way more truthful, way more real than any kind of worries I have about me relating with the outside world. And it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't wipe any of that away. It's just less real, you know? So the question, like, does Jesus accept me for being trans? Yeah, he does. He really does. Like, what do we know about him? What do we know about his story, what he represents? What do we know about his kindness, his gentleness? What do we know about the stories about how he would accept anyone, how he would help anyone, how he would never deny anyone? What would we know about any of that? But like, I can tell you that he does accept you. He definitely accepts you. God accepts you. Like, to me, Jesus, as I experience him now, right? So Jesus was a man that walked the earth, as far as we know. And, you know, there's all these really beautiful stories, and, you know, he changed the world by coming here, right? But what is he to me now? He's God showing up as Jesus, right? He is Jesus. He is Jesus, but he is God showing up as Jesus. He is God. He's both, right? And the way he relates with me does change. It's not like he's always just one thing. He doesn't always just feel the same way. His is a dynamic, changing relationship. Sometimes it's very super grounded. Like, he does feel like a person, you know? And sometimes he feels immense and grand, and he's you know, showing me this stuff and talking to me about stuff I can barely remember when I sort of like come out of it again, you know. And a lot of the times he's just like, and you know, like helping me cook a meal or something, you know. Or he's just a friend I'm hanging out with, but he's here all the time. And sometimes he slips into the background, you know, and he doesn't feel quite so present, but he is present. You know, so my my advice, so I'm finally getting to the point again, you know, like my advice really is, if you like, to anyone, whether you're trans or gay or you feel like you're a sinner or something like that, right? Or you're unworthy of him, you're unworthy of God, you've made lots of mistakes in your life, you feel like you're a bad person, or anything like that. You feel like you can't, maybe you feel like you can't do what he wants you to do, what God wants you to do. You feel like you can't do it. Doesn't change anything about whether or not he accepts you or wants you. And it doesn't change that he is there or not. Like, God is here. How could God not be here? To me, God is all that is, all that could be, all that will be, all that, you know, all of that. God is everything. Everything we know, everything we don't know. God is beyond that, you know. God is alive and active as the world we live in, as a spirit, as a something beyond spirit. You know, God is the vast emptiness of what we don't know, the void, the beyond, what's beyond the veil. God has the ultimate power, God has the ultimate love, whatever. God is the universe is God. God can show up in any way he wants to. God can show up in any form, no matter how trivial. God can show up in the smile of a stranger, a kind word. God can show up in something going right, something going well, you know, whatever. Like, how could God not be here? So even if you can't hear God, or you feel disconnected from God or from Jesus, just know he's there anyway, because if you're thinking about God, then he's there. He's there. God's there. And I'm saying he, I don't mean he really, but it's just the way I say it. It's the way we all say it, isn't it? God can show up with a masculine energy. God can show up as a father figure. God can show up as a mother figure. God can show up exactly what you need. And for some reason, we all have seemingly come into this story, this grand story of planet Earth, where this man incarnated called Jesus, and God, that was God showing up as Jesus 2,000 years ago or whatever, right? And for some reason, just an absolute shit ton of us are part of that story. Because of all the beings I've channeled, and I haven't channeled that many different ones, I've tended to stick with the ones that kind of had some kind of biblical Christian kind of adjacent thing going on. Out of all of them, Jesus is by far the easiest to connect with. Like, he's just right there, but I do think something changed this year, and he's kind of telling me that it did. Something did change this year. And so now he's just like more available than ever. More and more available than ever. And like, I totally get the truth of feeling disconnected and feeling abandoned or unwanted or unworthy or any of that stuff. And you may be engaging in ideas or teachings that say you've got to heal that. No, you don't. You don't have to heal it. You don't have to heal any of it. Like, yes, show up. If God's asking you to look at your trauma, then be brave. Get a therapist. If you've got identity issues, if you've got some kind of disorderliness, like I've got it in spades. I've got loads of it. Then do the human things, get a counsellor, get a therapist, or talk to a friend, or whatever. Talk to me if you want. But there's nothing you need to do to be accepted by God. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing you need to be. Like, it's just as you are, and he will meet you just as you are. He will meet you where you are. He's not waiting for you to achieve something spiritually, become more enlightened or whatever, if that's your deal. It was my deal. Like, I totally thought that for a long time. I thought I had to awaken, and then I thought I had to, be more awakened and raise my vibration and become more enlightened and expand my consciousness and all of that stuff. But that's just happening. And yeah, I think we do need to say yes to it, but it's because God is doing it. And it's like God or the universe or the world, for whatever reason, we're here at a time when we're being asked to evolve. We're evolving. We're being asked to evolve spiritually, and maybe physically too, but we're being asked to do that. God's helping us do it. God is doing it, and I think we have to sort of say yes. I think we have to kind of show up for it, take part in it, but it's not really us doing it, and it happens in different ways for different people at different times. It's non-linear. There's no kind of set path we all go on. My story doesn't have to be your story in the slightest. There's nothing I've done that is some kind of like roadmap for anyone else. I mean, I think we're here to help each other, be in community with each other, and witness each other doing our own things. I've had enough of a spiritual world, community, even a trans community, that says I've got to do things a certain way. I've had enough of it, and I don't really take part in community anymore. Spiritual community, I don't really go there anymore. It's very messy. I believe in the power of connecting with others in very small groups. I've got 1 or 2 friends I speak with online. I've got a beautiful friend over in California I speak with. I've got a beautiful friend in the UK I speak with. I speak with 1 or 2 family members, and that's it. I keep it to myself, generally speaking, these days, apart from on this channel. And I'm happy to talk with people, but I don't really find the community at large to be a very healthy place. Any community. But you know, like, it depends. But when it comes to like spiritual growth, well-being, mindfulness, self-improvement, self-realization, non-duality, all those kind of subjects are really messy. I don't know if I've really covered what you were asking me. I'm sorry, this took such a long time to talk about, but I really wanted to do it justice. I don't want to just say, I could have answered those questions in a couple of words, but I really want to say to you or anyone else, you know, like, you are here, and you are trans, or you're gay, or whatever you are here. You are here on planet Earth as you. Why? You know? Why wouldn't you be here? You are here. And you are you. And you have all the stuff that you have going on. And yeah, it's really hard. It's really challenging. And you might not want it. But you are here. I believe in purpose. I believe that there is purpose. I believe that God has a purpose. You know, that there is a design, there's intelligence behind all of this. You know, it's not simply a machine, a universal machine where we're just parts of a machine. And it's not just random chance, and it's not just evolution, it's design. You know, it's intelligent. It's way beyond any of us to understand from our perspective here. Maybe we can pull some information from the higher realms, from our higher aspects of ourselves. You know, the aspect of myself that has a closer relationship with God than I have, you know, but it's still me. That we are coming down to earth. I believe there's a purpose to it all. And if there was no purpose to me being here, I wouldn't be here. And you know, that purpose can be on so many levels, you know, like existing as a trans person, being visible as a trans person, just for me, just my truth. being a trans person in the spiritual community, I mean, it's a little bit just disruptive. To be honest, people don't like it. To be a trans person talking about this stuff on a video, to be a trans person who's got kids, to be a trans person, you know, who's whatever, you know, and it goes beyond that, doesn't it? It's not only about being trans. You know, it does feel like it at times. But there's so much more to life than being trans, isn't there? It's just who we are. There's so much more. You know, I'm a photographer, I'm an artist, I'm a parent, I'm a loner, I'm whatever. I don't know. I do all this stuff. And you know, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. Right, I'm gonna call it quits here. I hope this has helped you. If you've listened, if you've got all the way to the end, please let me know. This video, what I'm doing with YouTube these days, especially now, is on 1 or 2 videos I have just stopped comments completely, because I just don't want to know what people think about stuff like certain topics. But I think I'm going to put this comments on moderated, so you can comment, but like it'll only show up if I approve it, kind of thing. Or if you want to, you can follow the newsletter thing on Substack. There'll be a link to, there'll be a link below. If you want to be notified about videos, you don't have to subscribe to this channel if you don't want to. You know, I'm not interested in running a business or trying to flip subscribers into something else. Like, it's just if you want to follow. And I do write a little bit, so I will share. I'll share on that Substack as well, that stuff. You're welcome to comment wherever you feel comfortable. You're welcome to message me directly. I am friendly. Sometimes might take a while to really get back to you. I'm finding life very intense right now, and I'm getting behind on stuff, and I've had to take a few days to kind of I don't know, recharge or something. It's been very hard going. These are such hard times we're in, but I do want you to know that I am available. And I do have my neurodivergencies. So sometimes I might miss the point of what you're saying, or something like that. I'm sorry about that. I'm doing my best. But it's about, for me, it's about being in community with other people, hanging out, happy to answer questions, but like, we're on this journey together, you know? We can help each other. It's not about us being leaders over each other. We're all in this together. So yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm gonna after I've hit the stop button, I'm gonna record a little introduction for this video because it's just so long. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, bye.